Hello, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy CowboyJobu, and it's 9 o'clock on Friday night, and you know it's time for war. Woo. We're talking about Tony Romo and everything that's going on right now. I've been here in Washington, D.C., and I got to tell you, man, they're going crazy here in Washington. But let's just watch these highlights real quick here while we get the show started. Let's get to the live stream. Where's my live chat? All right, guys. Thank you guys for joining in tonight. We have a lot to talk about, and we may have our buddy coming in. Let me get this background noise out of the way. Not sure where that background noise is from, but we just killed it. Thank you guys for joining in tonight. Man, it is just going crazy right now here in Washington, D.C. That's right. I am a Dallas Cowboy fan that lives outside of Washington, D.C. And, of course, there's a bunch of you out there that think that I'm not a real Dallas Cowboy fan because I'm not in Dallas. Well, you know what? You can believe that if you want. I'm here actually sticking it to the Redskins. And one thing that you can always count on when you tune into the Jobu Sports Report, live streaming or down here in the locker room, and that is that Jobu will need a refill. So let's get to that first thing before we, let's see. I think we need some spicy rum tonight before we get to talking about Tony Romo. There, you know, Jobu here, he's been getting tired of missing out on his refill, so he's got his own flask. And I think I'm going to join Jobu here with a nice rum and Coke. If you haven't heard, there's some rumors out there that are very interesting, to say the least, about Tony Romo, Kirk Cousins, the Washington Redskins, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Dallas Cowboys possibly having a three-way trade. Now, it's kind of interesting, and I've been thinking about it a whole lot. And I'll be honest with you, as crazy as the whole thing sounds, it actually makes some sense. Because here's the thing. In the NFL, if you do not have a quarterback, you're screwed, flat out. You have to have a quarterback. And the Dallas Cowboys right now have one. San Francisco 49ers don't. They end up having Colin Kaepernick. I'm trying to find, I don't know why I can never seem to find my feed here so I can give a shout out to all you people that are on tonight. Colin Kaepernick basically has opted out of his contract. So what's interesting about that, of course, is, for one, I said this last year, Colin Kaepernick did the whole protest. And I don't know that the whole protest was really what it became, where he was protesting treatment of, you know, minorities and stuff by police. I honestly believe Colin Kaepernick's saying was he wanted to get out of San Francisco. And Chip Kelly does not like people that were vocal. So what I think he was actually trying to do was get underneath Chip Kelly's skin. I'll sit down during the national anthem. And when flack started coming around, he just said, well, I'm protesting police brutality. And it grew and grew and grew. Because the interesting thing is now that he is a free agent, he's saying, oh, I'm not going to protest anymore. And we also found out that he doesn't vote. So somebody who's supposedly an activist, you don't vote. And now you've said, I'm not going to do it anymore. So to me, it was all a whole bunch of BS. But regardless, he is out in San Francisco. And now you have Shanahan Jr. running the show after going to the Super Bowl with the Atlanta Falcons and having some bad coaching calls. But what you have to understand is he is truly in love with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, he believed in when they still had RG3. So he worked with him. He knows him. He wants to have him. And basically he said, I will do whatever it takes to get a quarterback. And when you're looking and listening to some of the things he's saying, there we go. Finally got the feed. He's got truly a hard on for Kirk Cousins. So if you're on the standpoint of if you're the Redskins, having Kirk Cousins, who you want to sign to a long-term contract, and he doesn't want to. And I can say I understand why he doesn't want to, because here it was, you gave up all these draft picks for RG3, and even though he was not doing what he should be doing, and I'm there practicing, I'm in the playing well, and you're not showing me any love. You franchise tagged me that first year instead of giving me a long-term deal. Still got paid, got the $20 million. He's thinking, I'm going to take as much cash as I can, and I'm going to get out of town. So I'll be happy to take a franchise tag again, knowing that in a year or two I could be free, and I will have already made, come last year and this year, a good $45 million. And if you tag me next year or put the transitional tag, I'll make another $36 million. So I'll take the cash, and if you can't work out the deal, I'll be happy to go on the road because I've been paid. So they know that now because they've tried to sign him to a cheap long-term contract, and they know he wants to get out. So do you just let him go and not get anything in return? Or do you say, well, I can trade with San Francisco and get the number 2 pick? Take the number 2 pick, you might be able to use that, trade back, turn into multiple picks, and have your team. But you need a quarterback. Colt McCoy's not going to be the one. So when you look at the quarterbacks that are out there right now, most of them are really not a guarantee. So do you take that number 2 pick and you draft a quarterback that might not be anybody? He might be Jared Goff. When you got Kirk Cousins in the 4th round, just like the Cowboys got Dak Prescott in the 4th round. So you're not really going to take a chance on getting that guy with the people that are there. There's no home run hitters there. There's no Mariotas. There's no Jameis Winston. There's no Andrew Lucks. They're project quarterbacks. So you go for the best quarterback available, Tony Romo. And you know that Tony Romo wants to play the Dallas Cowboys. And what better way to do it than as a Washington Redskin where you can play him twice and maybe make him pay. And see, if you keep Kirk Cousins for the season, he's going to cost you $24 million. Tony Romo's contract to a team he trades to is actually only $14 million, and he said he would be willing to renegotiate. So you might be able to get him on an incentive-laden contract for maybe $10 million. So now you save $14 million. You can be a player in free agency. And you got a quarterback that is a good quarterback. And if he doesn't play well, we got draft picks. And we got cash for free agency. So we can look at this more long-term. So that's my thoughts on the whole thing. Now, of course, if you're Dallas Cowboys, if you get anything and get Tony Romo off the books, you're playing with house money. So for the Cowboys, it's a no-brainer. And a lot of people will say, well, you never trade a guy into your own division. Well, we're talking about the Washington Redskins here. The off-season champs for like forever. I mean, we're talking about the Redskins who gave up a number 2 and a number 3 pick to trade with Andy Reid and the Eagles for Donovan McNabb, who another guy was past his prime. We're talking about the same Washington Redskins that signed a Jeff George to then an $18.25 million contract, which was way up there. And the Redskins, as much as they like you to think that they've changed, they sell hope every offseason. They always have the big signings. You know, like the Albert Hainsworth for $100 million, the Bruce Smiths, the Adam Archuleta. I mean, they paid Adam Archuleta $30 million. $30 million. He was the highest paid safety in the NFL. Dion, past his prime time, they paid $55 million contract to him. So we're talking about the Redskins that go for that big name splash. There's no bigger name splash that they could make than Tony Romo. So it'll be kind of interesting. Now, it may be just a whole bunch of crap because we're going off of a tweet from Rappaport. But what's interesting is this. As I was driving home, you know, I live in Northern Virginia. I'm listening to Sports Pop 980. And I trolled them, by the way. Had a great time. I've got to go back to the audio vault and get that. They had Doc Walker, who's one of their headline guys, former Hog, you know, got the ring and everything else. His slot is between 2 and 4. He was still on at 6:30 talking about this, and they were taking calls. In fact, I've got a couple of videos up right now. You can listen to some of the feed and how angry some of these Washington Redskins fans are about Tony Romo. So there may be a little bit more to this because that station is actually owned by Dan Snyder. So either they really are looking into this or they're trying to send a message to Kirk Cousins that you either sign this contract or we're going to get rid of you. And if you're Kirk Cousins, you might want to get out of Washington because generally speaking, quarterbacks don't last there. So let me give some shouts out. We got a whole lot of people on here tonight. Our buddy Law Nation may be joining us. When I last talked to him, he was out grabbing some pizzas, and I was filling him in on all the stuff that's going on with Tony Romo and everything else and how, you know, the sky is falling here in Washington. And it's exciting to me. Cold Web, I don't remember you, my man. Brand new subscriber, maybe. Thanks for joining us. Nick C., you are always here. Thank you for joining me. Robert A. Mann, Moore, Sansom, Badass, welcome to the show tonight. Hope everybody's having a great time. Is it going, John? Is it really going off in Texas right now? How do you guys feel about the prospect of having Tony Romo in Washington? Does it bother you guys? To me, the way it seems to work is we always seem to have a lot of players from Dallas that go to Washington. None of them actually do very well. I mean, we had Jason Hatcher go there. We've had couple other defensive linemen that have. We've had tight ends. So, you know, Dion. So we've had players that have left the Cowboys that have gone to Washington. Alvin Harper's another one. He stole money from the Redskins. Good Lord. But how do you guys feel about the idea of seeing Tony Romo on the other side? Because I'm sitting here thinking, when you start looking at some of the moves, I mean, if Donovan McNabb got a second and a third round pick from the Redskins, maybe we get a second. The great thing that you have to think about right now is the fact that Denver said, we'd like to get him. Now you get the Redskins talking about a trade and Tony Romo in there too. There may actually get to be a bidding war, which when you think about it, who else are you going to get if you don't have a quarterback? And we all know if you don't have a quarterback, you're not going anywhere. So, Dak to the Future, how you doing tonight? John Lopez, Amanda, Jeffrey Dyson, Yanis, how you doing? Robert A. Mann, John Lopez, Michael Freeman. Yeah, you know, oh, thanks for joining for your first live stream, man. And Jobu is always drinking, man. And you know what? This one's here too. Three-way orgy, more like it. I like that one. Well, I agree with you, Brandon Green. If we could get a number 2 pick, I would, you know, at this point, I'd be happy at least a 4 because we're talking about just releasing him, and just releasing him, we get nothing. Anything that we get is a bonus to get him off the books and to get something in return. You know, when you think about when DeMarcus Ware went, you know, we got nothing in return on that one other than some cap relief. So anything to me is a bonus at this point. And here's the thing. Expect something to happen before Thursday, regardless, whether it's a trade or a release. Because if you're a team that needs a quarterback, you don't want to wait to make a trade if you're going to make a trade. If you're going to go for a quarterback and you need to do it in free agency, you want to be there ready day one. You don't want to be on the fence saying, well, maybe we'll trade for Tony Romo later. And you want to get that guy on your team as soon as possible so that way you can start him on the playbook. He can get into off-season workouts, and you can go ahead and throw as much at him as you can to get him ready for the season. Because you're talking about coming in cold, and you may have a totally different system than what this guy's been used to playing, and especially when you have a guy like Tony Romo who's been in the same system with Jason Garrett forever. He's going to have to get used to the different terminology, different receivers, and things like that. So you want to get that guy right now. If you're not going to trade for him, then you're looking at a free agent quarterback, and there's not a whole lot of ones on there. The only other trade that's really out there that we're talking about is Garoppolo. And they're definitely looking for, New England's trying to play coy that, we're not going to trade him because they're trying to drive up the value. But you give them the right price, everybody's tradable. So don't believe that one with New England. New England loves to have picks. Now, on the flip side for San Francisco, they have 10 picks. So them giving away a pick for Kirk Cousins, it's a no-brainer. It's easy. It's no pain. For the Redskins, you're going to get rid of a guy who doesn't want to be here, and you might be able to replace him with a guy who's still got some miles on him, but still can play, provided you can keep him upright. Quite frankly, I think it would be kind of cool to play Tony Romo's team on the other side of there. I can't believe the trade talk. I know the Redskins want the Cowboys so bad. Well, it's always funny here because, like I said, I live in Northern Virginia, and I listen to Sports Talk 980 all the time. Actually, Doc Walker, I met him, and Brian Mitchell. They're actually really cool guys. The thing I like about Doc Walker is real. He'll tell you the team sucks when the team sucks. And if the Cowboys are good, he'll tell you the Cowboys are good. He doesn't bullshit you around like a lot of these guys do. But they are flat out thinking that this is going to be something that happens, and they're trying to set their mind up for it. But it's funny when you get a guy like Jason Hatcher. When Jason Hatcher first came to Washington, oh, man, he was saying, they do things differently than in Dallas, man. I can't wait to get back down there and go against them and stuff. It's like, okay, all right. So he talked a whole lot of trash but never really backed it up. Basically, he went there and got paid, which is generally what happens when you go to Washington. My question is does Tony Romo want to go to Washington? That line is not that good. We got some good receivers if they re-sign them. But I don't know. It might be the place where most quarterbacks' careers go to die. And that would be definitely where Tony Romo's career would end. And I can't even pronounce his name. 2-Court-1, whatever, Aussie. Is that Aussie? 2-Court-1? Okay. Yeah, you're right. That would set a fire with the rivalry. And you can best believe that Tony Romo would definitely want to get some payback to the Redskins. As gracious as he was this season with Dak Prescott and stuff, I still believe that he's pissed off inside. He played it the right way because you don't want to go through and be a distraction, because then general manager's going to say, well, look how he acted there. Maybe we don't want that dynamic. He looked like a statesman and a guy that you say, oh, okay, we can build a team around that guy. He didn't start any crap and things. So he played it the right way. But you look at his body language, the fact that he hasn't talked to anybody in the Cowboy organization for 6 weeks. You got to know that it's eating him up inside for everything that he's given to the team. And I would be pissed personally, but you got to understand it's business. I mean, he's gone out there when he played against the Redskins with broken bones in his back and tried to come back in overtime to win a game. He's tried to rush back from injury to help the team win. So, he's looking at feeling stabbed in the back, so to speak. At least that's the way I would feel. Romo to Washington, no. Where the Skins fall in the draft, they're about middle of the road. I think they are 15th or so. I may be wrong, that I'll have to check, but they're kind of middle of the road. It's not that high of a draft pick. Brandon, we're not going to get the number 2 pick and traded. Yeah, we could get a lot for the number 2 pick, but we're not getting that. Now, a lot of people will say, well, we could take whatever picks we get the Redskins to move up for Myles Garrett. Well, nobody's moved up from 28 to number 1 or number 2 ever. I mean, that's just too far to go. The Redskins gave up 3 picks to move up, 4 slots to get RG&E? And personally, I'm not a fan of moving up to get a guy, because any guys that watch me on a regular know, to me, I don't care where you pick. I don't care what free agents you sign. You got a 50-50 chance at best at that guy producing in your system. You'll see a lot of guys who are in a contract year that will play lights out. And you look at that guy's numbers and they're just like, wow. Jason Hatcher is a perfect example of that. Jason Hatcher had 11 sacks his last season here in Dallas, even though the years before, he was only averaging about 3. He goes to Washington, he goes back to the 3. How many times have we seen a cornerback that was the can't-miss cornerback, like Nnamdi Asomugha, goes to Philadelphia, and 2 years later he's gone, and it looks like he just stole money? You look at players, generally speaking, with free agency, they don't do that well. So like I said, it's a 50-50 chance. In the same sense, when you draft a guy, it's a 50-50 shot. You look at Carson Wentz. Okay, he looks like he might be okay. The jury's still out. But then you look at the pick just before him, Jared Goff, the guy they said is a can't-miss guy. You know, the most pro-ready player in the draft at quarterback. Dude can't play. At least not the first year, he certainly couldn't. So when you trade up and take multiple players for 1 pick, you're not risking just that 1 pick. You're risking all of those potential players. Think where the Redskins would be had they not traded 3 number 1s for RG3. You can set your franchise back. You look at teams like New England. New England covets those draft picks. They will trade back in a heartbeat for the right deal to get more picks. Generally speaking, they'll have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 picks in the draft. And you look at them every single year. It drives me crazy, but they're always good. They don't overpay free agents because they've got so many picks. Okay, we got 10 picks. If we can get 5 of them to stick, we're in great shape. But let's say you only have 5 picks and you only get 2 or 3 to stick. See my point on that? So if we were able to get a 2nd-round pick along with our 1st-round pick, which is really a 2nd-round pick, and along with our other 2nd-round pick, you know, you try and work those things and try and make those 3 picks, and maybe you try and make them 4 or 5 if the guy that you really want isn't there. And you don't want to reach up like we did with Morris Claiborne. We took a number 1 pick and a number 2 pick to move up to take him. How'd that work out for us? What if we had gotten somebody else with that 2nd pick? So that's my thoughts on trading up. Robinson, you still think Jerry? Okay, here's the thing that I always say about Jerry Jones. The reason why you look at the talent that's now on the team since 2010, we've been much, much better drafting the 1st round of the draft. We haven't been reaching for guys. We haven't been making those crazy trades up and things like that. We haven't been shifting as much as we used to. You know, it used to be Jerry Jones was the madman. He was trading day, at draft day. They turned it over to Will McClay. Scouting department evaluated players, and they kind of took Jerry Jones out of the equation. So it wasn't the oil man that was making crazy deals and gambling and all that. It was being sensible on our picks. Hey, let's build from the offensive line out. We've gone through and had all the sports cars, all of the skilled players. You know, we've made moves for TOs, and we've made trades for Roy Williams where you're giving up 2 number 1s. And that's a perfect example of why you don't take multiple picks on one guy. We sent 2 number 1s for Roy Williams. Think about where we would have been had we kept those 2 number 1s and drafted a solid guy, a guy like Tyron Smith with them. So you don't do that. What they've done is they built that offensive line, and that has kept Tony Romo, for the most part, upright. It's giving you a running game. It gives you time in the pocket. And that's what they now need to do on the defense. We basically spend 3-to-1 offense to defense. The offense needs a little few pieces, but that defense needs a pass rush. So, with that being said, if we trade Tony Romo and we can get a second pick, I still say, and I've only got a few more days left to say it because free agency is going to start. Hypothetically, we get this deal done, we get a second or a third for Tony Romo. We get some cap room. We've already started making moves. We're trying to get rid of, like Alfred Morris. You're going to see some other guys cut. They're going to save some room. Tyrone Crawford might be a guy that might be gone, as well as some other people. Get some cap room, and maybe you go ahead and try and make a play at Calais Campbell. And I still say, and a lot of people don't agree with me, and you don't have to agree with me. That's the great thing about America. You get Calais Campbell, you get an extra pick. Now, all of a sudden, that draft is totally wide open. You've got lots of holes that you can fill. You might take that number 1 pick that we have, and you might trade back with that and get multiple picks. Maybe you get 2 second rounds, or you get a second and a third, because really at 28, you're really a second round to begin with. And you can get more of these guys. We got those 21 free agents that have to either be re-signed or replaced. And we need to get some good, solid people there. You get Calais, you got a playmaker there. Maybe you can find a good edge rusher. Maybe DeMarcus Lawrence comes back like he did the year before. There's no guarantee. And there's no guarantee that you can get a lot of impact from a guy you draft. And generally speaking, pass rushers take a couple years to develop. So it just gives you options to go ahead and fill in those holes. It might be a great receiver that's, for whatever reason, is falling in the draft. And you might say, we're going to take that guy, let Terrence Williams go. But you want to be flexible and have different options of things to do. Snyder would do anything to beat Dallas, Dante? Well, Snyder will also do anything to get a buck. Snyder likes the offseason buzz every year, because I always say this. It's almost comical, because every year around this time you start seeing all the new jerseys. And I remember the good old Donovan McNabb jerseys, and they were kind of funny because there were some that were, one side was an Eagle jersey and the other side was a Redskin jersey. So you'll see all those big name new free agents jerseys that are selling like crazy. And it gets the Redskin fan base hyped up. And I always equate them to Charlie Brown. When Lucy's holding the football and Charlie Brown's about to kick it and she pulls the football out from under him, that's the Washington Redskins. Be it players or be it big name coaches, they always go for the off-season buzz. And that's why this makes sense to me. Romo jersey stained in red blood. I like that. What picks do I think we'd get? Be honest with you, I don't know. But the Redskins can get the number 2 pick. Of course, they have another number 1 pick. They gave up 3 number 1s and a second for RG3. The Redskins, they always overpay. That's why players always sign with the Redskins. Oh, you want $10 million? We'll give you 15. So, like I said, they gave up a second and a third for Donovan McNabb, and he was over the hill. So who knows? I think at least a third, maybe a second. How you doing, Ernie? Teeter? Do you think that Dak has increased the fan base? Well, definitely all you Mississippi State fans are now Dak Prescott fans. I don't know. I don't know if he's increased the fan base, because our fan base is pretty big to begin with. He has definitely been probably the biggest talked about player in the NFL. And I dare say Dak and Zeke have saved the NFL season, because when you look at the NFL season, especially Thursday night games, they're pathetic. The ratings were terrible. And I know we had a presidential election and they'll say that that was a lot of it. But I got to tell you, watching Thursday night football was literally like pulling teeth on some nights. You know, when you're seeing teams like Cleveland and the play on the field is terrible. The Cowboys literally became the primetime team week after week after week. For a while there, we were playing night games, 4 weeks in a row? So I would say that Dak and Zeke both have actually made more football fans, not just Cowboy fans, because they're an interesting story. 36 million. Roy, what are we talking about? 36 million guaranteed this year. I'm not sure who's get 36 million guaranteed for 1 year. So hit me back on that one. And I know I'm way behind on the questions here. John, okay, here's the thing. There's nothing as far as a trade yet that we know of. All we know is there's speculation from Ian Rappaport that the 49ers really want Kirk Cousins. And with Shanahan having coached him for a couple of years in Washington, even when they had RG3 and not wanting RG3, he truly would like to have Kirk Cousins. Colin Kaepernick is now a free agent. He's gone. He's out of the picture. They don't want him. So they have no quarterback. So if you're the 49ers with the number 2 pick and you're looking at the quarterback prospects that are out there, there's not a guy that you can say that's the guy I can build a franchise with. To me, they're project quarterbacks. They're not really top 10 picks at all, although somebody will take a chance on them. So he wants Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, on the other hand, feels kind of jolted by the Redskins because they didn't give him a long-term contract before, and they're trying to sign him to one now, but I bet you it's a low-ball deal. So he's willing to take the franchise tag and be able to say bye-bye in a year or two. The Redskins, on the other hand, are saying, oh, so you don't want a long-term deal, you want to take the cash and run. They're looking at how can we get something for this guy. So it makes sense for them to trade with the 49ers. So if you're the Redskins now, all you've got is Colt McCoy as a quarterback. You're not going to run the season with him. You can make a trade now that you got the number 2 pick along with your first-round pick, other first-round pick. You can make a trade with the Cowboys for a second or third, bring in Tony Romo, sign him to a contract where right now it would be $14 million, and he's already said he'd renegotiate. So you might be able to get him for 10 or 12, cutting that 24 you would have to pay Kirk Cousins in half. Now you got somebody you can play with a free agency. And you sign him to an incentive-laden contract, hope that he stays upright, and if he doesn't, you really didn't lose anything because you got the number 2 pick in the draft. That you may be able to find that guy, great edge rusher because the defense needs help, or you might be able to, trade it back and turn it into multiple picks. Trade back 4 or 5 spaces, get a couple of number 1s because somebody really wants a quarterback or something. Kind of like the deal that the Redskins gave up when they did RG3, where they gave up 3 number 1s and a second. So you got to get a quarterback. Tony Romo is probably the best one that's out there. Of course, for the Cowboys, it's a no-brainer because at the moment, you're looking at releasing him just to get him off your books because you can't afford to pay him that 24. We got Law calling in. For those of you guys who don't know, Law Nation, he is another vlogger as well. And if you haven't checked out his channel, check his channel out, man. He is fantastic. He does a lot of live streams and stuff. He gets a lot of highlights and things. Whenever I put highlights up, I'm always getting busted by the NFL because I'm not licensed and all that for that, at least not yet. So if you haven't checked out Law Nation, be sure to subscribe to him because the brother knows his stuff, and he is with us tonight. How are you doing, Law?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, man. I thank everybody for allowing me to be a part of the Mark Holmes show as we talk about the Cowboys.
No, hold on now. It's not the Mark Holmes show. It's the Jobu Report, man. I'm just a player here just trying to get some of the crumbs from Jobu, man.
Well, tell Jobu I'm trying to catch up with him, man.
Well, hey, you got a long ways to go, man. We've been talking about Tony Romo and the Washington Redskins and how crazy this is, but I've been thinking, personally, I don't think it's that crazy because, in a way, it helps all 3 teams. I don't know how much you've heard about it, but I've been listening to the D.C. area and getting their perspective on what's going on. What have you heard so far?
Some outlandish type of deal that's supposed to be going into the mix. But I really just don't know if that's going to be even possible. So what do you think about it? Because I definitely don't think it's going to be possible.
Okay. Here's what I know. I know the Washington Redskins gave up a second and a third round for Donovan McNabb. Okay. I know the Washington Redskins always overpay people, like Deion Sanders for $55 million or Hainsworth for $100 million. And Dan Snyder would love to stick it to the Dallas Cowboys. If he could get Tony Romo and have Tony Romo beat the Dallas Cowboys, let's say you got Tony Romo and you made it to the playoffs beating the Cowboys. Could you think of anything bigger for his ego than that?
No, I can't think of anything bigger than that. Yeah, that would be a plus. But what can we get out of return of doing all those trades?
Well,
and trying to what can we get out of the deal?
Okay, well, here's what we got right now. We ain't got squat.
Right.
We got the prospect of holding on to Tony Romo for $24 million for this year, or just out and out releasing him and getting $5 million. So in my mind, if anything that you get out of it, to me, is a bonus. It's house money. And we could definitely use the pick. I don't know if we can get a second or a third round, but the thing that I love right now is the fact that the Washington Redskins are putting it out there. And I was listening to Sports Talk 980, which is owned by Dan Snyder. Their big line people were there for hours after the fact talking about this. So there's got to be some validity or some other scheme that's going on here. So it is possible because, this kind of stuff doesn't just get made up. There's some kind of conversation or something had to go on. We definitely know that Shanahan loves Kirk Cousins. And right. I saw him on NFL Network basically saying, when you know that you got that guy out there, you'll do what it takes to get him. So from his standpoint, I could see him wanting a quarterback because he doesn't have one. You okay there?
Wrong pipe.
Okay. Well, Michael Freeman, thank you for subscribing to the channel while Law's over there choking. Hey, Richard.
Watch me down on live TV, man.
Yeah.
Good
hey, get the ratings up, man. We'll definitely go viral on that one. How you doing, Aaron? You all right there, man? I told you, man, it's very bad to steal Jobu's rum. Very bad.
Well, I'm not. I'm a survivor. I'm gonna live, man. But something like that would be a plus. Just imagine the ratings of Romo and I guess whatever color that is, burnt, whatever. What color is that? Burnt burgundy or gold?
Yeah, burgundy and gold, man. Yeah.
Burgundy and gold. Romo and burgundy gold with number 9 and watching Dak Prescott.
Now, this is interesting. John Colt Sports. Now, again, I'm sorry, guys. There's so many of you guys on here. The feed is like way past. So you might have popped this up a half hour ago. I don't know. But John Colt Sports had said that what he's been hearing is the Redskins send Kirk Cousins to the 49ers for the 34th overall pick. The Cowboys then send Romo to the Redskins and get that 34th overall pick from the Redskins, which would be a second rounder. Done. If it were me, done. Okay, if I could get that, done. End of story. So
I'm gonna have to do my research on this all together and see what you can get, from that.
Well, here's the thing. We're all speculating, and that may or may not be true. Who knows? We'll have to go ahead and see what happens. Crazier things have happened in the NFL. Jackie Smith, how you doing tonight?
Say again.
No, I was just saying hello to another subscriber, Jackie Smith. How are you doing tonight, Jackie Smith? Are we looking at Humphreys? And why do we need right now? Or who do we need right now? I'm sorry. We definitely we've got a lot of holes we need to fill. Personally, the biggest hole we need to fill is definitely pass rusher. We need a beast on the defensive line, and I think that ends up helping everything else.
Help on the defensive line.
Without a doubt.
Everybody talking about help on the defensive line. Where are you going to get them from? You talking about Calais Campbell? What's the price going to be on him? Do you know?
Well, okay. His last contract was 5 years, $55 million. What may end up happening is he may still end up being a $10 or $11 million a year guy. But I look at it like this. Right now, Tyrone Crawford's cap number, because we've refinanced him, redone his contract a couple times. He's $10 million this year on the cap. Think about that.
Yeah,
we ended up paying Greg Hardy $8 million, and he only played 12 games.
12 games, 6 sacks.
Yeah,
1 INT.
So, to me, $10 million worth of kids. A lot of guys say, "Oh no, you can go cheap." That's the problem. You go cheap, you get what you pay for. These guys that are cheap have a ceiling that's only so high. Sometimes you got to go out and spend some money, and we have not spent money on our defense in a long time, or at least not spent money the right way. We've gone through and we've reached for Greg Hardy because he had all kinds of ability and looked past the other issues. But I think Calais still is not like most free agents where they just have a great season, that contract year, and then they go right back to where they were before. That guy's been constant throughout.
Yeah, I can see something like that. I really can see us trying to flex that or push that salary out so we can get a Calais Campbell. But it's just one of those things. I don't think Stephen Jones will pull the trigger on that.
Nick, you're right. I will do trivia questions next on Monday night. I will be sure to do a trivia question and send out your shirt. Blake, hopefully you're going to be getting your shirt soon, or maybe by today or tomorrow. So if you're watching, hopefully you're going to get yours. And I'm working on next year's as well as shot glasses. So look for that stuff before the season starts next year.
Who is Clorox Bleach?
Oh, man, he needs to drink some of it, man. He's another one of those ones that say that I am not a real Dallas Cowboy fan because I'm not from Dallas. And yes, Jobu does need a haircut as well as his roam. You're right. We'll do something. He got a new do, and it's a little bit on the crazy side. It kind of lays down a lot more. Jobu's not a doll. He is an action figure. I like that. How do you guys feel? Let's say it's the opening game of the season, and Tony Romo is the starting quarterback. How would you guys feel about seeing that? And I want to know, all you Romo-sexuals out there, the guys who say that Dak Prescott can't carry Tony Romo's jockstrap, what are you guys going to do? Law, what do you think is going to happen to the Romo fans? Are they going to follow the Redskins?
Well, man, Romo is going to be Romo. And I think that a lot of people still just feel like he's the next heir apparent of a John Elway of the world, or he's the next, I would say, Joe Montana. But in the same aspect, I really like Romo. I like what he brings to the team. But realistically, the kid just need to go ahead and retire, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree with you on that one. Well, I'll tell you what,
need to retire, man.
He'll get retired.
As soon as he get away from our team, then the sooner we can just relax and breathe and just figure out what the future should be,
Well, I got to tell you, if he goes to Washington, he'll be retired soon because that's the place that quarterbacks' careers go to die.
Oh, yeah.
You look
and
at
hey, low key, if you look back at it, Anthony Brown picked off Romo 2 passes in the first training camp last year. So, hey, what if Anthony Brown can pick out for him again,
No, I don't want Darrell Revis. No, thank you at safety. That's all right.
Why not at safety? Break it down to me, Mark. Why you don't want Darrell Revis at safety?
You know what? He's all about the cash, and the last couple of years, I just don't think he's had it like he used to. Again, I think he's over the hill. His best years are behind him. I would rather – I just don't.
$3 million.
I just don't think he's got that much in the tank anymore.
So not even for 3 or maybe a $2 million or
maybe a 2 now. 2 I might. But see, you're not looking at being the Redskins and the over the hill gang, man. Just not looking for all these old guys.
Right.
Revis has a lot of miles of stuff on him. And I got to tell you, when I watched him play this past year, he just looked like, I'm just here to get paid. That's the way I felt watching him. I didn't see him selling out like he used to. Maybe he was hurt and stuff like that. But he just looked like, I'm here to get paid. But then again, being with the Jets, you could kind of say that's basically how the season was. What's happening, Jack, in Springfield, man? Nice to see you on here.
Jack in Springfield.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, man. So Mark, how do you feel about would you sign Church or Wilcox? Who would you sign? Church or Wilcox?
Well, J.J. Wilcox, unfortunately, I think is going to cost too much. You know, people don't want to give him credit, but was actually a very good safety this year, and I think he's going to command a lot of money on the free agent market. And I just don't think we're going to have enough cash to sign him. Church, I think you'd have a better chance at signing. And the thing you have to ask is, okay, if we can sign him to a decent contract, or we try and get somebody in free agency, what can you get that's going to be better that you can afford? That's to me, that's what you have to look at, because we can all play fantasy football and we can say, oh yeah, you know, let's get this guy, this guy, this guy. But the reality is you can only put so many of those guys on the team. And so you got to figure out what eggs are we going to put in our basket. For years, it's always been we're putting all our eggs in the offensive basket and figure we'll outscore everybody. So generally speaking, you know, the Cowboys are tight when it comes to defense, and I'm not sure that they're going to spend a whole lot of money getting a guy. The last big free agent signing, of course, is Greg Hardy and Brandon Carr. So, you know, who knows where they're going to go. And maybe if they make this trade with Romo, they just say, okay, we'll do a couple of edge rushers and we won't sign any big name free agents and just try and stick with some of the guys they have and get some of the lower tier ones. Definitely, if we get something for Tony Romo, it does lessen the urgency of signing a big name player, because it does give you that extra high pick.
It does. It does. So I'm just looking at it from this aspect, Mark. If we're able to keep one or two of those guys, and if we're able to start Heath, then that'd probably be a plus. And if we are also able to figure out what to do with Anthony Brown, whether or not he's going to be a starter, or are you with the team of keeping Carr or get rid of Carr? Or are you with the team of keeping Claiborne? Which one is it?
Oh, Claiborne. I'm sorry. We got to let the glass man go. Because literally, no, it's one of those things that, for whatever reason, sometimes you just need a change of scenery. Don't choke on that rum. You need a change of scenery, and I think it's time for Brandon Carr to have one. Excuse me, not Brandon Carr. Morris Claiborne to have one. Every year, he's always seeming to get hurt, and for whatever reason it is, it's time for him to have a fresh start elsewhere, and it's time for us to move on as far as he goes, in my mind at least. Brandon Carr, one thing to say about him is he plays every single week, does not miss games. And I think part of the problem with Brandon Carr is he's had to hold up for too long. He's never going to be that guy you paid $50 million to, but he's still a good cornerback. So the question you have to ask is, if you don't keep Carr, what can you replace him with? Because we're now talking about Claiborne, Carr, Wilcox, and maybe Church, 4 guys that you got to replace. You're not replacing 4 cornerbacks for under $30 million a year. Law.
Yeah.
You know, so you're gonna have to, you're gonna have to make some adjustments. Maybe you get 2 cornerbacks, or maybe you get 1 good cornerback and you draft another one and you hold on to Carr and Church. But you can't replace 4 guys in one go-round.
Yeah, you're right. We got to figure out some way we can not manipulate, but somehow figure out a way where we can get somebody in that can fill those roles in. And like you say, probably anybody can fill in the role of Brandon Carr, or Brandon Hughes Carr, or Brandon Glass Carr, or
no, you mean Morris Claiborne.
Claiborne.
Yeah, because Claiborne only plays half the season, so anybody who stays on the field is doing as much as he is.
Right, it is.
Oh, boy. Wilcox can't cover, but, okay. Well, Sean Williams, who would you replace it with that you can afford? That's my bigger question. And, we have all kinds of guys. People say, oh, get rid of Doug Free. Get rid of Morris Claiborne. Get rid of half the defensive line. Okay, who are you putting in there? That's the bigger question. What do you have that's going to be better? Nobody has perfect players at every single position. You get the best guys, 54 guys you can, and you make the best of those 54 guys. Robert Hart thinks that moving Byron Jones to corner would be good. He can play corner real well. I would love to have a head-hunting safety out there myself, one that's really going to make some plays, that's going to get interceptions and stuff, and it might be that he would be a better corner. Your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts on Byron Jones playing corner, he just don't have that flexibility. He looks stiff out there. He needs to figure out a play, whether or not he's going to play inside technique, Now, believe it or not, Brandon Carr plays a better inside technique. So the problem is with it is that, hey guys, we just lost out on that pick with Byron Jones. You know,
it was close.
Landon Collins would have been a better choice for us if we knew we needed a safety. And although he jumped out the moon, just like you said, a combine workout warrior, but he's just not that flexible enough to play cornerback, in my opinion.
Landon Collins, I'll drink to that one because that would have been, that would have been a fantastic one right there. Could you imagine if we had Landon Collins back there with the season he had? Something I want to get your opinion on Jalen Smith. Hearing that the nerve actually isn't firing, and he'll probably be playing with a brace. My question is how much is that going to limit him? If you guys don't know what the problem is he had that catastrophic knee injury, and it's had nerve damage, and basically it's called drop foot. And what it is because the nerves aren't firing, sometimes the foot just goes limp, the toes kind of get pointed, and you don't have the normal use of your foot. So they have a brace that helps with the flexibility and stuff like that, but it's still not like having your foot the way it is. My question to you is, what do you think he's going to be able to do? Seeing the workouts that he's had, how much do you think we can expect from Jalen Smith this year?
Well, the thing that you need to expect from Jalen Smith is you're pretty much going to have to change his position if he's not able to flex out and be shifty in his approach, because when he's trying to tackle somebody open in space, you got a drop foot, which is no firing of the nerves. You're not going to have that change of direction like you can when you're not knowing where your target is at. Mm-hmm. So if I was not depending on, he's a freak beast now. He's a beast. He can play he can play hellacious. But my only drawback would be if you can just put him on the line and just say, hey, go get quarterback. Don't worry about dropping down in the zone. Don't try to worry about tackling the running back out in space. I just want you to attack the quarterback. You can put him in maybe he'll play better probably in a 3-4 defense at this point. Mm-hmm. But if possible, you probably can just say, hey, DeMarcus Ware did it. I just want you to fly out to the ball. I want you to tackle the quarterback.
Use that speed.
I don't want you to do a lot of change of directions at this point because we just don't know what can happen with that leg or with that foot, I meant to say.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. Robinson, thank you from Richmond, Virginia for subscribing. A shout out to you for being a new subscriber. And JVP, man, thanks for the love, man. You know, like I said, I really enjoy having Law in here, man, and it makes it so much easier for me. And, you know, I always give you my view, and everybody pretty much knows mine. And I like to go ahead and bounce my thoughts against somebody else, so I really enjoy that. Now, ESPN, hey, if they want to give us some cash, I'm all for it, man. But it'll be interesting to see if we get anything out of him. That's going to be a big boost for our defense, I feel. If we could just get that defense together. I don't remember the name of the person who did that this morning, but when I talk about Calais Campbell, somebody beat me down and said, how dare you compare him to Charles Haley? But what was interesting, because I didn't actually check this out, the 49ers, when he played his last season with the 49ers, let me see, actually, I think maybe I screenshotted it. His last season with the 49ers, his numbers were almost exactly, and I mean exactly, the same as Calais Campbell's was last year. We're talking 2 forced fumbles, just like Calais Campbell. I think he had 53 tackles, and he had 7 sacks. So when we compared the numbers, Calais had 8.5 and an interception. So all of a sudden, think about that. Charles Haley came, and all of a sudden he was the difference maker. And a big misconception is Charles Haley only had 100.5 sacks in his career. He basically averaged 9-10 sacks a year through his career. It wasn't like DeMarcus Ware, we had 19. He was just very consistent every year. And to me, that's Calais Campbell. And like I said, I keep saying it, but that's the way I look at it. People are asking, who should we pick at 28?
Well, at 28, if a Charles Harris is out there, you grab him. If somebody like a Tack McKinsley, you go grab him if he's out there. Now, if you're leaning more towards, if you have O.J. Howards of the worlds out there, you go and grab him regardless of the scenario because he had the higher upside. He got the skills, the tenacity to play in line. He can block well as well. He can open up the middle of the field. So a tight end is always going to be the quarterback best friend. So I would go with somebody of that nature. If O.J. Howard's on the board, you grab him.
Mm-hmm.
If not, then you lean with Tech McKinsley, in my opinion.
No, Calais Campbell can't lay me. Thank you very much. Like I said, I have a lot of love for the brother and all that, but it's not that kind of love, man. Let's keep it straight on that one. Oren, yeah, Charles Haley is really cool. You're fortunate to meet him. He is one of the funniest people that you will meet. He is truly a prankster, man. I mean, I could tell you some stories. Well, actually, I couldn't tell them on here because some of them are X-rated. But he definitely is somebody, when he's in the right mind spirit, that you can have fun with. And especially now, as he's gotten older and relaxed and stuff, the other side, the good side of Charles is really there, man. So, yeah, Haley was definitely a beast. Like I said, he scared the piss out of me. I'm going to say one quick story real quick about him. In college, he hit a guy so hard, he literally made him a cheerleader. We had a running back who gave him a good block in practice, and Charles got up, dusted himself off, and he said, "I'm going to fuck you up." And on the very next play, he hit him clean. But I had never seen anybody hit like that before, and he was carried off in a stretcher and had neck damage. And I said, if you ever take a shot in the neck again, you're going to be paralyzed. And so we know he was a male cheerleader. True story. Okay. The coaches have film on Dak now, so it's going to be harder for him. Well, that may be true. But the thing that you have to understand about Dak Prescott in the game he had, it's not like RG3. RG3 had basically one thing, his legs. He couldn't pass in the pocket. What he did well was run outside, and because defenses weren't used to having a quarterback run like he could, it would end up being all the coverage would come in, and it was basically just a dunk pass. So they realized, okay, if we go ahead and knock the snot out of him, he's not going to go around the corner. The difference with Dak Prescott is he's not one-dimensional.
Right.
He can roll out and keep his eyes downfield and make a play, and having Ezekiel Elliott there who can run the ball. When you get Zeke running real well, they're going to put 8 men in the box, and that's going to open up single coverage on everybody else. He is a guy who can take that deep drop back, and he can throw. He can dink and dunk, as a lot of people like to say. So it's still going to be difficult to stop him. There's not a single thing that you can say that he does all the time, at least in my opinion. But, time will tell what happens on that.
Yes, Mark, not to cut you off, I hope I'm not.
Oh, you're not at all.
A little delayed, but when people say that teams will have more film on Dak Prescott, keep in mind, this kid is just not your average quarterback. He live, breathe, eat, sleep football. And the point is, think about this, guys. Dak Prescott now have more film on the opposing team. So he got more experience. He got a top-bred wide receiver. He got a hell of a running back, Ezekiel Elliott. And whoever we draft in the draft, it's going to be even more amazing, more explosive. Mm-hmm. So this guy is going to be in the system even longer. So I always like to flip that question. Dak Prescott is now going to have more film and tape and all that good stuff on them.
Well, not only that, too. When you think about, being drafted as a 4th-round quarterback and going through the offseason, you weren't training him to be your starting quarterback. He wasn't working out with the number ones in the offseason like he will be right now. He's working with a coaching guru right now in Orlando, I'm told already, getting ready for next year, although I heard he was playing some golf. Let's hope he doesn't turn into Tony Romo. But he's going to be working out with Des Bryant and those guys now. He didn't have that going in until late part of training camp. After Kelvin Moore went down, he basically got Wednesdays when Tony Romo was practicing with those guys and the preseason games. Now you got a whole off season with him and Dez to start working out. And if you notice something, after Dez got back from the injury, they didn't really hook up very much.
Right.
But what you noticed is, as the season progressed, how they were able to hook up, and all of a sudden, Dez got back to being more and more like Dez as the season progressed. I look for that dynamic to really take off next year. with Dez being healthy going into the offseason, with Dak being able to work with them. Watch out for that combination, I think, next year.
Right. If you marry that up with, like I say, if we go out and draft a D.D. Westbrook, somebody can take the top off of defense, Juju Smith, somebody that you know can catch the ball with their hands. Or if you figure out a way to get Kenny Stills, or we know that T. Will is not going to sign with us, unfortunately. He's going to go with some money. We all know that that's in his mind because it's his first, second contract. So, well, technically his first contract, major contract. And he needs to get paid during this time frame. If not, then when will he get paid? So if we go out and draft somebody, or we get another veteran, a wide receiver,
Brandon Marshall's out there,
catch the ball with their hands, then it's going to be even more good for Dak Prescott, in my opinion.
Right. Well, Brandon Marshall's out there.
Oh, man. Hey, man, I got roasted, man. A lot of people think that we should stay far, far away from Brandon Marshall. They'd rather for him to go to the Giants,
Oh, man. Okay. Sean S. wants to know if I think we should bring Bryce Butler back.
Oh, man.
Thank you. There you go. Oh, boy. No. I'm sorry. Bryce. Bryce. No.
You guys know how I feel with project players. We got a McDuffie kid now. We got the Whiteheads of the world. We got a Bryce Butler. We got somebody else who we think that we're going to be high on. Andy Jones. Man, I want a known commodity. I want to be stingy this year. I want to be selfish. I want somebody that I know that I can count on Sunday. I want somebody that can catch the ball, can run the right route, Gosh, why can't we just have that one other player that can do that,
Classic wrestling commentaries. I'm not turning on Tony Romo. I'm not turning on him, but sorry. It's the natural evolution of football. You can't play forever, and you have to make dollars and cents decisions. For whatever reason, the Dallas Cowboys hit lightning twice. It struck in the same place. You got Tony Romo as a free agent, and he sat behind Bill Parcells for a couple of years and became a great quarterback. That lightning struck with the fourth round with Dak Prescott. For whatever reason, he fell to the Dallas Cowboys, and the Cowboys took him, and he's playing like crazy. What you're paying Dak Prescott, that rookie contract at $600,000 a year versus $24 million for Tony Romo, who has only played in 5 games in the last 2 years. Stop playing with your heart. You've got to play with your mind and say, there's more upside with this guy who may play for 5, 10, 15 years. You got 2 years maybe if he can stay upright. You got to go ahead and play with your mind. So when you look at it from that standpoint, I'm saying if he's going to go, get what you can get out of him and allow him to go someplace he wants. I've never beat him down and said Tony Romo is garbage. I have not. I've told you guys I respect everything he's done, all the body parts he's left out on the field, all of the fantastic games that we had. But at some point, you have to move on. And if the 49ers could move on from Joe Montana, why is it that we can't move on from Tony Romo? Your thoughts?
Man, you preaching my language now, man. Look, everybody thinks that just because you say something negative about Tony Romo, is that you don't want him. Look, man,
they're ready to fight.
Tony Romo. I remember fighting, man. I remember going to fist fight for Tony Romo. And look, my brother's a diehard 49er fan, and I remember fighting, man, for Tony Romo. And at the end of the day, hey, everybody got to come to their end point. So if, like Mark said, if we can get something from him, then that'll be a plus. If not, if we cut him, we get $5 million. We got to figure out what we can do with that $5 million before March 9th to pick up one of these guys that can make an impact to this team, an explosive guy.
Yeah, and as much and it hurts though because I remember when Roger Staubach had to retire, and that was sad for me because that was really the quarterback that that I always remembered and associated with the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, I was there from 65 on, but I was infant. I don't really remember this, but I remember them winning that first Super Bowl. And when he retired, it hurt because that's Roger Staubach. How can the Cowboys go on without Roger Staubach? Mm-hmm. But the team continues to go on. And Classic Wrestling, you answered the question. You know, you just talked about Emmitt Smith going to the Cardinals. Tony Dorsett went to Denver. It's just what happens. And in the end, the Dallas Cowboys are still the Dallas Cowboys.
And people fail to realize, if you don't know, Troy Aikman, you know, just look at Troy Aikman's career, man. I was at the game when they was booing him, man. They was booing this guy off the field, man. So, hey, we some vicious fans out there collectively. And you talking about Troy Aikman, man.
Well, True Will Gonzalez, maybe you can answer this for me, because when I listen to people talking about Carson Wentz with the season that he started off really, really well, and then the wheels seem to have fallen off the wagon. For some reason, I never hear people say, we'll have to wait and see how he plays. But for some reason, it seems like everybody is waiting for Dak Prescott to fail. I mean, the guy had the best rookie season of all time, but yet everybody still wants to doubt him. But we look at somebody like Carson Wentz, who didn't have quite as good a season, but nobody says anything negative about the way he played. I'm trying to understand that dynamic, and maybe you can explain to me why there's a difference. Do you get that same kind of feeling, Law?
Yeah, it's a major. I think that the people collectively who don't really watch film, they look at just the highlights and stuff like that. They got this RG3 mindset about Dak Prescott, and then they have this Colin Kaepernick mindset of who Prescott is, in which he's so far from them guys.
Right.
He's so much advanced. He's got a different body structure. I just think that if you want to put him in a box like that, if you just want to put him in a box like that because of, you know, I hate to say this, the elephant in the room, because he's black, then you have to lean more towards a Russell Wilson, at least, you know. But people like to sully him and say that he's more of a Colin Kaepernick or a RG3 type of player. When stats and everything shows that he's even better than Andrew Luck. Right now, I would pick Dak Prescott over Andrew Luck.
Oh, well, Luck has been beat to hell, and with the Colts, I would, without a doubt. And it's, to me, okay, being the age that I am, I'm 51 years old.
Right.
You know, I remember when Joe Gilliam was there with the Steelers with Terry Bradshaw, and they were debating on which one of those guys were going, which dates me. I mean, we're talking about early 70s. The fact that it's 2017 that we still have this whole black quarterback thing is just mind-blowing. He's a quarterback. He's biracial. He's actually half black, half white, half who knows. But we got to get past this black, white, everything thing. The basic question is, can you play football? Are you a decent person? That's the only thing. That skin color thing shouldn't matter. Because when a guy throws only 4 interceptions in a season, clearly he did something right.
Right. Dak Prescott isn't supposed to do only 4 interceptions, you know, not in his rookie year. Not Dak Prescott, you know.
Clinton Reeves, you hit the nail on the head. RG3 used his athleticism. Dak uses his head. And that's the truth. Because Dak is not going to force the ball to Dez Bryant just to keep Dez Bryant happy. And the amazing thing about that is the way he's taking control of that team. Because there was a while there where Dez was having like 1 or 2 catches a game and the Cowboys were winning. And Dez didn't care. Where Dez is like, hey, man, as long as we're winning, I'm happy. You didn't see that dynamic before. He has grabbed a hold of those guys and made them believe we can win. And if you could take Jason Witten, who is Tony Romo's best friend for life, and get you behind him, he's doing more than what anybody else is doing. And if you guys can't recognize that, then I'm sorry, then you just pound sand or something, because what you're witnessing is something fantastic. And instead of putting doubt there every single day on it, you ought to be enjoying it. After a 4-12 season, our team turned it around.
He did.
So, Nick, how do you like your coffee? You like your quarterback like your coffee? I mean, there's multiple ways to have it.
Just a little cream, right? Hey, man, Dak Prescott is going to be a beast, man, or is a beast right now. And just don't sleep on him, guys. He gonna step it up even more this year. Just mark my word, he's gonna get out there and just step it up even more.
Well, Cola, let's get rid of Romo to the Redskins and get Myles Garrett. Even if we got a second-round pick, that's a long ways away from getting Myles Garrett. You would have to give up. You probably have to give up your whole draft to get Myles Garrett. I mean, you'd have to basically pull a New Orleans Saints with Mike Ditka, what he did to get Williams, where he literally gave the Redskins his whole draft to draft one guy. That's basically what you'd have to do to get Myles Garrett.
Yeah, and at the same time, guys, don't sleep on Deshaun Hall, the guy that played on the opposite side of Myles Garrett, just as much as elusive and as fast to the ball as Myles Garrett. Just don't sleep on him now, guys.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting to see what we do in the draft. I can't wait for it. It looks like I will actually be in Philadelphia. Did I actually say that like I was going to enjoy it? But I'll be at the draft at Philadelphia. Hopefully I won't get shot, but we'll be actually doing reports and stuff from the draft, so that's going to be fun. And I'm looking forward to trying to go through some of the combine stuff. But the thing I always find interesting, I don't know if you do or not, watching the combine, is take that as if they do well in the combine, they're going to be a great pro. And a lot of times we see guys who look terrible in the combine become Hall of Famers, and we get guys that look fantastic who end up being draft busts. And I don't know what your thoughts are on the combine.
Well, like you say, it's just that I just like to see actual film and tape, but we can pick out what we can really see in the combine, how fast they run, what they can do under pressure and stuff like that. But I just really like to see what they can do in preseason and also the season. That's what I'm looking for.
Definitely the college film and stuff, and who they played with, versus and things like that. Because the bottom line is, you can't put a guy in a mold, say, linebacker is this side, when you get a guy like Zach Thomas, who comes in, who's 5'10" and plays lights out as a linebacker. You can get a guy like Emmitt Smith, who actually wasn't that fast as far as running in the combine, end up being the NFL all-time leading rusher. So to me, it's a tool, but it's a small part of the tool in the equation. I look at it as more as to make sure the guy's body is still in shape, where he's healed up from injuries and things like that. A chance to meet and talk to the guy and feel, is this guy crazy and I don't want him on my team? Or is this the kind of guy that I can work with and coach?
Right. So yeah, you're so right on that, Mark, man. But the combine now is so commercial now. Everything is just media, just for a clickbait. They really don't really care about the players. They really want to know, how many dogs you have, or how many times you hit on a woman, or do you smoke weed, or stuff like that. Little nefarious, small, irrelevant stuff.
Yeah.
I just want to see if a guy can catch the ball with his hand, if he can he blitz off the edge, is he able to make plays when it's needed? That's what I want to see. So if anything, what they should do is just scrap the whole combine, have some type of scrimmage game, make 2 or 3 teams, develop 2 or 3 or 4 teams, and have them play against each other. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah. Well, kind of like the Senior Bowl, but it's kind of hard bringing having a week's worth of practice together for that one game. But again, that's what got my attention on Dak Prescott, was watching him being calm in the pocket and the way he could move around. That's the reason why I started looking at college film on him, because I said, he's looking pretty good, because everybody was talking about Carson Wentz, and I was kind of like, I think he played better than Carson Wentz, but maybe it was just me. So you kind of have to look at the whole body of work and see what they've done. The Cowboys have been famous of late taking risk on guys where, they've had injuries and things like that. Basically, at a bargain basement draft pick, Jalen Smith is a great example, a guy with a hurt leg. Sean Lee was another one who had, a knee injury coming out of college. Morris Claiborne had the wrist injury, when they drafted him. They're trying to find a good revenue stream of players differently from everybody else. But I'm kind of not one to get guys that are injured. I want a guy that I know we can play as soon as we sign him. Your thoughts on that? Yeah,
like I said, I don't want no more project players. Now, unless, I hear that who's the Marcus Smith, whoever that guy name is, over the NFL Player Association, about the changing of the laws or the rules and regulations with the weed.
Yeah.
Now, if we can change that up, if he can make it real quick, and if Tim Williams dropped to us from Alabama, then hey, You know.
Okay. Well,
I would take that risk one more time.
I wonder if that could be. If they did change the rule on that, I wonder if it would be retroactive and we could end up getting our boy back. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? I tell you what, Manuel Serrano, just because every time you tune in, I end the stream. I'm going to end it right now. No, actually, we'll go ahead and go for 15 more minutes just because you came in, and I want to make sure that you can get caught up. The big thing we've been talking about is the rumors of Tony Romo possibly becoming a Redskin via Kirk Cousins going to San Francisco and draft picks basically flowing backwards. So hopefully tomorrow we'll hear something more about that. You know, we'll be talking about it one way or the other. If something breaks on it, I'll definitely be live streaming. I know Law Nation, who is on with us tonight. Any of you guys, if you don't know who Law Nation is, you're not a well-informed Dallas Cowboy fan. He's got a YouTube channel as well. I invite you guys to check it out, subscribe to him, because he definitely knows this stuff. I'm enjoying doing these live streams together because it's great to bounce off different ideas and things that he knows that I might not know, and vice versa, and share it with you guys. So be sure to check him out. And we will go ahead and go till 10:30 just for you, my man.
All right. Well, hey, 10:30 in the house. Somebody, Zach Glazer, he said Tease Tabar 28 pick. I like Tease Tabar tape. He reminds me of a better, believe it or not, a better Byron Jones.
Yeah, that would be great. You know, and if we could get a pass rush to go with those guys, lights out. And see, when we were talking about Landon Collins, I think Landon Collins is benefiting a lot because of that pass rush that they have. The Giants have been able to kind of shut down the run a lot and force teams to be one-dimensional and having to pass, in which case they're able to pin their ears back, put more pressure on the quarterback, in which case the quarterback's making bad throws or not having enough time. And that's part of the reason why I think he's been so effective in the passing game. And I think if we could get a pass rush, that would definitely help all of our defensive backfield.
Yeah, I mean, pass rush will make our guys look like all-stars. And I do also think that, Landon Collins do benefit off of that. But you know what? One thing that I do know about Landon Collins, if you guys can let me say this,
he's a hitter.
The dog got nasty, man.
Yeah.
The dog got bite, man. He went to the media and said, I want to pick out Tony Romo. I want to hurt Tony Romo.
Yeah.
I want to do this. We just don't have. Can you name a Cowboy player that talk like that? I'm waiting.
Well, you know, part of that may be the whole Jason Garrett thing. I'm working on, you know, a lot of you guys saw part 1 video, and I've been busy with my new job and stuff, so I haven't had time to finish it. I did part 1 of Dak Prescott's game where we were down 21-3, because so many people out there say that the reason we lost to Green Bay was because Dak Prescott. So I showed that first 3 drives the Cowboys had, and every single play that Dak Prescott had to say, show me where he went wrong. Now, I started going ahead and getting the clips together for part 2 of that to show where he took off from that point forward. The interesting thing that I always notice is, 1, Doug Free is always going off sides, or he's having a bad block that's getting Dak hit late on in there. And 2, no matter what happens on the field, Jason Garrett is – I'm sitting there watching the replay of the game, and it's painful to watch knowing that we should have won that game. But clearly, Jason Witten was literally tackled. I mean, he was clearly interfered with going into the end zone with what should have been a touchdown catch, or at least a first down, because he was pass interfered with. You know, you see Jason Garrett, you see, Jason Witten there with the referees like, come on, dude. You've got the commentators are like, how was that not pass interference? And you see Jason Garrett on the sideline just going like this. It's like, why aren't you up in the official's face showing some emotion? No matter what happens on the field, win, lose, or draw, he's always there smiling and clapping. I mean, show some emotion. Get mad. Give somebody a stare or something. That's the thing that drives me crazy with Jason Garrett is he's always howdy-doody.
Hey, man, Jason Garrett is Jason Garrett, man.
Well,
Jason Garrett is Jason Garrett, man.
You know what? Sometimes you got to try something different. And maybe just a little, I just like to see just a little bit, not a lot. Just get mad one time.
You're not going to get that. Hey, Let me know when you find Jason Garrett without playing in the football game or coaching the football game without that blue shirt on.
Ugh.
He's not going to change that. He's going to have that blue shirt on. He's going to have a shirt tucked in, and he's going to say. In that case,
let me pour another one. Then, if you're telling me that we're not going to get anything different, because if we don't get something different when it comes to crunch time, we're going to end up the same conversations in the next off season, because we've had opportunities there, but sometimes you got to question some of the things that the coaches have done where, it's kind of like, why aren't we running the ball more instead of trying to force it downfield when we're getting 5.7 yards a carry? Run out the clock. If that's what got you here, why are you now all of a sudden trying to change it up? To me, it just seems like he tries to get too cute or try and outsmart people, bludgeon them to death.
Hey, I'm gonna ask you this, Mark. Coach Landry. I know you was around when Coach Landry.
Oh, okay. All right. Trying to talk about how old I am. Go ahead.
The Plastic Man. Who was called the Plastic Man?
Yeah.
Name me who was called the Plastic Man.
Yeah. He was truly consistent. But
hell yeah.
Here's the thing, though. You can't put him in that category. I mean, it was a totally different era. I mean, we're talking about a guy who was not only the offensive coordinator, he was the defensive coordinator. Every single thing that went on that team, he was in charge of. You don't see that today. I mean, Jason Garrett doesn't even call the plays.
What about Belichick? Belichick.
Oh,
what about him?
Well,
his first 7 years, his first 10 years in the league.
Okay, so you're saying there's a chance that he's going to get us there. Is that what you're trying to tell me? So you're giving me some hope?
I'm praying that Coach Garrett can do something. I just don't want to start over with a whole nother philosophy. I just don't want to start over. Call me selfish. I just want Coach Garrett to do it. He got 3 rings already, right? I'm just playing, but I just want him to do it, man.
But see, here's the reverse of that argument to you.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Atlanta.
Yeah.
Look at Denver. I mean, you're talking about Denver, a team that went to the Super Bowl. They fired their coach. They went back and they won it. So it's not like, and as much as I love Tony Dungy and Tampa Bay, John Gruden made a living off of that Tampa Bay team, was the change that they needed. Now, he certainly couldn't build a team because once those players that Tony Dungy put in there got old, he never replaced them. He had to go. So sometimes you have guys that are good at building a team but just can't get you over the hump. Bill Parcells was always a guy who could coach a team, but he could also build a team. And when he left the cupboard full of players.
He did.
And
I'll go to my grave saying that Bill Parcells would have coached in 2007. We would already hosted that Lombardi Trophy that year.
Amen to that. In fact, that 2007 season. And that goes back to the argument for you Romosexuals out there that said that Tony Romo never had a team around him. That team had 13 Pro Bowlers. We had Marion Barber, believe it or not. We outrushed the Giants in that playoff game. Marion Barber had like 129 yards, I believe. I think we had over 150 yards rushing in that game. So don't give me this crap that Tony Romo never had a team around him, because that 2017 was loaded, and we were the #1 seed going into that game. So, but anyway, a lot of those Romosexuals have revisionist history, so we won't go on that. And maybe we'll finally have a conclusion to Tony Romo's situation where we can start focusing on the guys that'll be here.
Right, and don't sleep on 2011 team too as well. 2011 team was pretty cool too.
Really, True Blue? Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly. See, see, you're about to get me started, because see, that's a guy who I don't understand how he can get a job, because he took a team that Andy Reid built, and he literally ran in the ground because they weren't his guy. He's literally giving away players.
Chip Kelly is the best, and I mean the absolute best
at destroying a team. Yeah. And that's what, after everything that went on in San Francisco, I don't understand why all of a sudden you end up getting all these rumors about him going to Atlanta and to New England. It's like, Chip Kelly? That guy? Come on, man. Henry, you're right. Chip Kelly is poison to a football team, without a doubt. True Blues are homosexual. Okay. Your mom is a clown. Oh, okay. We're not. Okay, let's stay out the mama jokes.
I mean, Chip Kelly did a lot for the Cowboys. He just
he truly did.
Man, the Eagles were set for a long time. Chip Kelly came in and he said, "Okay, I get rid of Deshaun Jackson. I get rid of.
I'll get a linebacker with a bad knee. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. Let's overpay DeMarcus Murray. I mean, come on, man. Chip Kelly was ridiculous. And one other thing, because we're just about out of time coming up here. With Calais Campbell, like I've said about the Washington Redskins you can get paid with. But sometimes it's not only about the money, because Calais Campbell has played with the Cardinals, had some success and stuff with them, and he's on the tail end side. He's got less years in front of him than he has behind him. And I think that's a guy who's going to be looking for the right situation where he can get a ring. And sure, I could probably make more money in Washington, but I got to tell you, the Redskins are a long way away from winning a Super Bowl. And if they're making a move for Tony Romo, that's telling you that they're looking for a short-term pop, but I don't see it with the defense that they have. I think he would look at the Dallas Cowboys of Denver before he would look at Washington, because DeMarco Murray, if he had to do over again, do you think he would have gone to the Eagles? I guarantee he would have stayed with Dallas for less money if he knew what he knew, of course, later. So I think you're seeing a lot of players that are looking at that as well, that it's not only just about getting that big fat paycheck, it's about the situation I'm in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so, that's just bottom line with DeMarco Murray.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys. Well, that's almost that time. I really thank all you guys for allowing me to be with the Jobu Sports Report, and Mark Holmes as the host.
Yes.
And shout out to all of those who follow the channel that have been with me from day one. Shout out to LA Mental. I see you in there, fam. Those others that's in the chat box too as well.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, are you guys waiting for a Calais Campbell video? I can work on that tonight.
Man, do it. I definitely do it. I love me some Calais Campbell, man. And hopefully we'll put a push out and put that out there. And maybe this time next week we'll be talking about our brand new defensive tackle out there. So, guys, It has been a great hour and a half. Any other news on Tony Romo? I hate to leave so many of you guys here on the channel talking, but we will do it again on Monday night, 9 o'clock. And, of course, next Friday night we will be here. And, of course, we're going to get Law in here as much as we can, because I enjoy talking to him. And if you haven't checked out his channel, be sure to check it out and subscribe to it. Give the brother some support as well, man. He works really hard to bring you all that information and stuff. Show him some love. And as always, friends, I want to thank you guys for watching, commenting, supporting the Jobu Sports Report. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. We're trying to get to 10,000, so that way when we go to the draft, we can live stream on YouTube to you guys directly. And we're going to go ahead and end this tonight. And I will see you guys soon, and have a great weekend.